Hey y'all, it's Country Coder here. I want to provide an update on a project I'm working on, the PetStore REST API that I started last week. We're going to do a brief project overview. We're going to look at some data transfer objects, the DAO and service layers, my controller endpoints. Then we're going to test the create and update functions, and then look at some global error handling. We're going to walk through creating and updating PetStore entities and handling global errors. So the goal overall is to build a multi-layer Spring Boot application for a pet store or for pet stores. Key points, we're separating concerns. We have a separate I/O layer, input-output, a separate service layer. That's where we apply our business rules, and then we have the data layer itself. We use the Spring JPA for database interactions, and we use DTOs or data transfer objects for safe and simple data transfer. We have some DTO classes. The first one's in package pet.store.controller.model. We have the PetStore data class. The fields in this class directly mirror the PetStore entity class, although we don't have the JPA annotations. It contains a set of PetStore customer and a set of PetStore employee. It does have a constructor that accepts a PetStore object to populate the data transfer object fields. We have next the PetStore customer and PetStore employee. These are inner classes. They mirror the fields of the customer and employee entities. Each field has a constructor that accepts the entity of the object. We have the DAO layer. We have our interface, which is the PetStoreDao interface. Our package is pet.store.dao. Some key points here. We are extending the JpaRepository. We are leveraging the Spring Data JPA to handle CRUD operations. And because we did this, we don't need to write any of our own SQL. This saves us a bunch of time. Now we have the service rule layer where we apply some business rules. The PetStoreService class, this is in the package pet.store.service package. It has the responsibilities of finding or creating the pet store. This method returns a new pet store if the ID is null. Otherwise, it finds the existing store by ID. It throws a no such element exception if not found. We have copy PetStore fields. It copies the relevant fields from the PetStore data based on save PetStore, and it persists to the DB via PetStoreDao.save. Returns a new PetStore data based on the saved PetStore. We have our endpoints set up. These are set up in our PetStoreController. This is in the package pet.store.controller. We do have some annotations here. We have REST controller indicating that this is our controller. We have request mapping to PetStore, and then we have SLF4J as our logger. Endpoints, we have create a pet store. This is the post/PetStore. This consumes a JSON body, and it returns the newly created store with a status 201 created, maybe 200. We'll look here in just a second. And then we have our update PetStore. This is the put/PetStore. PetStore ID. It takes path variable PetStore ID and request body PetStore data. It calls saves PetStore and service to update. Returns the updated PetStore data. Okay, so there's enough of the theory. Let's look at the application itself. Open up Eclipse. We have Arc open, and we have some scripts into Beaver so we can take a look once it's all running. Here I run my main PetStore application.java. We start a Spring server. Boom, got all these happy messages. I go over to Arc. I pre-wrote some post requests just to verify that things are working. So I send a JSON. We end up creating Puppy Palace and Cat House. Let's go ahead and send this. And into Beaver, we now see that those are created. We have the pet store address, pet store city, name, phone number, state, and zip code. Alright, so that's the post request. But now we need to look at the put request. I did have those pre-written just to demonstrate. I had the wrong URL there. If we look, we have updated cat house 2. And a puppy palace 2.